Hi, my name is Nick. I'm the lead developer at Accounting Add-ons, and today I'll show you how to configure DirectDebitsLink. DirectDebitsLink is an add-in created by Accounting Add-ons that allows you to create an ABA file to process your direct debit transactions using your MYOB data. We'll cover three topics: how to install DirectDebitsLink, how to configure the MYOB data file connection, as well as how to configure the ABA settings. What we will not cover is the settings that need to be done within MYOB itself. That's been covered in a separate video, as well as how to use DirectDebitsLink. That has also been covered in separate videos. If you're interested in those other videos, have a look at our website. Now let's get started. To install DirectDebitsLink, you simply need to go to our website and download it. You'll receive an email with a link to download, and once you click on that link, it'll ask you, do you want to run the install DirectDebitsLink exe, and you can click run on that. Once it's finished downloading, you'll end up getting this WinZip self-extractor screen. By default, it'll want to install on the C drive of your local machine. Now, if you need to put it on a server location so that other people can use it, you can also change and browse and put it on the server. I'll leave it as a C drive for me, and I'll also leave the option, when done unzipping, open DirectDebitsLink. That way it'll start automatically once it's finished. Once you're happy with those settings, just click on the unzip button and let it do its thing, and as soon as you finish that, it'll basically have installed DirectDebitsLink and we'll launch it. I can click OK on this dialog and you'll see DirectDebitsLink starting. When you first start DirectDebitsLink, you may be presented with this screen. It's basically showing you that Excel has blocked macros from running, and consequently startup is currently suspended. There's a link that explains how to actually set that up to work correctly if you're using Excel 2007, 2010, and 2013, as well as instructions if you're using 2000 or 2003 version of Excel. In the case of 2013 for me, I simply need to click on the Enable Content button that's in the yellow bar at the top, and after I've clicked on that, DirectDebitsLink will start. The first prompt you'll get is to create the DirectDebitsLink shortcut, and that basically allows you to have a shortcut on your desktop so that rather than going through the installation folder to start DirectDebitsLink, you can do it straight from your desktop main window. It's entirely up to you if you want to create that shortcut, but I strongly recommend that you do. In that case, you can simply click yes and it'll create the shortcut for you. We're presented with the welcome window to DirectDebitsLink, and what we need to do now in order to proceed is accept the end user license agreement. And before you do that, I do recommend you read them. Now, if you want to read them, you can click on the user license agreement button and it'll bring up those terms. And once you've gone through and read them, the next step is to actually tick on the I accept the terms and conditions and choose new installation. We'll get the DirectDebitsLink licensing window, and in this one we just need to start the trial, enter our details, just take the caps lock off, Nicholas Emmerich, Accounting Add-ons as the company, and 1300 Add-ons as the phone number. Click OK and ensure that we select the trial DirectDebitsLink with customer payments. That basically gives us access to creating the customer payments as well as creating the ABA file. So I'm selecting that and choosing OK, and the trial started. We also need to set up our first data file connection, and to do that I'll simply answer yes on this prompt. Now, while the data file setup connection window looks a bit daunting, it's actually very easy to set it up. You simply need to enter a company name for your data file, so I'll just call it sample for me, but just type in your company name in there. The data file type, leave it as a MYOB account right 19.9 or prior. At the moment, that's the only version of the accounting package that we support with DirectDebitsLink. Once you've done that, you need to browse to your data file, and my data file is located on C drive, demo data files, MYOB DirectDebitsLink, and I'll choose the Clearwater file there. You then need to enter the username and the password, and we recommend you use the administrator username because that'll give you access to reading and writing the information we need to MYOB. So enter those two fields there. Leave the network protocol as TCP/IP because that's the one that MYOB recommends, and leave the ODBC driver to auto detect unless you're getting problems. And finally, you need to set up the MYOB exe path. So that's essentially the path where the MYOB application is installed. So typically it's right off the C drive. My machine's a bit different because I've actually installed it under program files. So I'll go to program files x86. I'll go to my MYOB folder, and I'll go to MYOB account right 19.7 and choose MYOB PXE. Now, as I said, for most users, it would be straight off the C drive of the local machine, usually Premier 19 or Enterprise 19 or something like that. Once you've chosen that, just click OK on the dialog and you've set up your first data file. You can now close this dialog and it'll ask you to do a full get data. You can then just click OK on this dialog and let it run. The get data process has just finished and everything ran successfully. So I can now click close on the log and I'm good to start setting up DirectDebitsLink to have the proper ABA information to create the ABA file. And we'll go through that next. The only setup we now need to do is relating to the ABA file, and that requires capturing the ABA banking information that drives how your ABA file needs to be created. Within the process of direct debits, if you've seen the other videos, the first blue band at the top in the orange section is to generate the customer payments. The last one is the one that creates your ABA file, so that's where we'll go. We'll click on the Prepare Direct Debits from MYOB Deposit button. It takes us to this screen, and you'll notice a setup button, which is a second button on the right called Setup. That basically takes us to the setup page, and it's here that we need to capture all the banking information relating to creating the ABA file. To set up the screen, we just need to follow the steps numbered 1 through the 4 that are listed on the left hand side. The first one asks us to do a get data. Now we've already done one in this video, so we could technically skip that step. But you might need to do that first step, especially if you're resetting up the screen. If you're swapping with a different bank, you want to make sure you've got the list information, you run that step. So for the purpose of this video, I'll just show you what it looks like. Clicking on that step brings us the Get Data Options dialog that we saw before. We just need to ensure we do a full Get Data and click on the OK button and let it run. Now the Get Data is finished. The next step is to just refresh the list. So I'll click on that. It'll take a few seconds, and then after that the lists are refreshed. And now we can enter the settings in the table below. There's 3 sections that need to be set up: the bank account details, the debit type details, as well as those few fields that are listed below. With the bank account details, you basically need to choose the bank account you want to use to process the ABA file for. Enter the user ID, username, name of remitter, trace BSB, and trace account numbers that the bank provided to you. Now, if you don't have those details, you need to contact your bank and obtain that information. You can actually set up multiple banks, so if you've got different accounts for different direct debits, you can actually set up the 4 there in that table. The next section to set up is the debit type details. Now there's 3 columns to enter: debit type, your statement ref, and customer statement ref. The debit type is just a label that you can define. It can be any value you want and is just used on other screens so you can determine what type of statement reference you want it to include. Your statement ref represents a statement ref that will appear on your statement, and customer statement ref is the one that will appear on your customer's statement. You can define multiple debit types, and that's basically if you want to toggle different types of fees or different type of statement reference you want to appear, you basically have the option of up to 5 there. So you just need to enter various text values that will basically appear on the statements. Now once you've set up the debit type details, the next thing is to set up the transaction code, the balancing code, and the bank. The transaction code should typically always be 13 for a direct debits transaction, and for the balancing code should always be 50. Now unless your bank instructs you to otherwise and use different values, you should really always use 13 and 50 as the 2 values there. But we've added the ability to change it if your bank requires it to be changed. Finally, the bank needs to be chosen, and by default it's the first one in the list, Australian New Zealand Banking Group, but you can basically choose any of the additional banks that are listed there, and that just drives the bank code that's listed in white below. Now if your bank's not appearing there, feel free to contact us and we can add the bank in and also work out what the banking code needs to be, as well as a few different other settings that might need to be tweaked for DirectDebitsLink. Finally, the last step is to save your settings, and you do that on the 4th step. So click here to save settings. You simply need to click on the button, and once you see that little blinking message popping up, it's finished saving. Once it disappears, and we're good to go, we can start using DirectDebitsLink. We've come to the end of the process showing you how to configure the DirectDebitsLink. I've shown you how to install it, how to configure the connection to MYOB, and how to configure and enter those settings for the ABA file. The next step is to actually start using it. If you've got any questions, feel free to contact us. I'm sure we can help. Cheers. See ya.